I just honestly I can't believe that it's been 5 years since Beyonce put out an album. Like her last one was Lemonade, and that was 2016. So it's just I was just like, I don't know, Alex. Like when I first listened to this new album from Beyonce, I kind of was like, wait a minute, what does Beyonce sound like? You know what I mean? Like, because it's been so long.
I know, and she's had so much time to like reinvent. I've been so curious about what she's gonna do next, and we've heard a little bit from her in between with her collaborative projects. But I think when they said she's coming out with a dance record, like I was very much like, what's she gonna bring to the table now? I was so
Hmm.
excited.
Yeah, and honestly, like I was reading about the album beforehand, and like this was really she was inspired by like COVID and the pandemic, and just kind of using that time as like a lot of artists were to kind of just pour themselves into their music. So that's been like a main inspiration. She also was saying like this album's dedicated to her family. Like some of her family are actually mentioned on it. Like we'll get into that a little bit. So I mean, like I feel like the subject matter is everywhere, but like you said, it's essentially like a dance record. Like there's a lot of genres that she plays with, but I think dance is like the main one that we hear.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's interesting too because like we've seen her dive in the past into such topics that are so important to her, whether that be like politically charged or heartbreak or anything like that. And then so just to see her kind of say like, I'm gonna put out something that's escapism, like that is plainly just to have fun and feel yourself. And yeah, I just thought it was a different direction to take. And she's done stuff like this before, but to put out a whole body of work like this of such a cohesive piece, like I was just very excited to see that.
And I like that you use cohesive because one thing on the album too, and I think I've heard a couple other people say this, is that it does feel like one big song in a way because each of the tracks just kind of like fades into the other. And something else, like from a production standpoint, this album is like very well done in the sense that it just, there's always something different. Like every song kind of starts differently than how it ends. You know what I mean? It's like you listen to the songs and it's like there's constant dips, there's constant changes, like there's all these directions to the point where like I felt like it was a little chaotic, but like you said, we kind of are getting Beyonce for the first time in 5 years. So this is probably just how she wants to like come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that she is like she's not gonna do something that you've heard before. Like you're not gonna get a traditional song structure from her at this point in her career. Like
Mm,
it's very, yeah, you're right. Like a lot of times it'll be a song will start off with a certain beat or a vibe, and then the tempo or the instrumentation or her delivery just completely changes to the point where it sounds like another song halfway through. Might
mm-hmm.
return the last one, like it, yeah.
And I feel like too, like I have a note on this. I think you can literally like draw a line in Beyonce's career where it's like she kind of became this more progressive artist and kind of exploring these outlets. You know, like the Beyonce album she put out in like 2013, I think it was, like that was really her first real like introduction as like I'm a modern artist that can do all these things that's not as traditional. And then like Lemonade was also like kind of like that. So I feel like this album is kind of like a culmination of both of those things where she's taking all of the like modern things she's done while also like paying homage to like some of her earlier work, which is actually, I don't know if you knew this, but I was reading about the album cover. Apparently, like the shimmery top she wears is supposed to emulate like the Dangerously in Love top. Did you know that?
I did not know that actually. That's crazy to me though, because like, yeah, it's like a full circle around. And yeah, and at this point, like, yeah, she's paying homage to what she's done while reinventing, while paying homage to like those that inspired her and
Hmm.
the cultures that inspired her. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful thing to see.
And I think it comes through too, like, and this is something I really want to like talk about. There are so many samples on this
Mhm.
album. Like, I think I counted right before this, and like 10 of the tracks like samples, like sample other artists or other songs. And
Right.
I feel like there's like a dichotomy in that where it's like the Renaissance piece that we're talking about, like, you know, is a rebirth and a resurgence of stuff, paying homage to stuff that came before. So in a way, she's like honoring those tracks and those artists and musicians. But I also feel like it could be like you're relying a little too much on like older content and you're not being as original. That's my hot take. I'm just gonna say on that. But I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't love a good sample every once in a while?
No, absolutely, and you're right. Like a lot of times you go through and like if you're gonna recognize a piece, it sometimes it doesn't feel as original. Yeah, I did notice that because like right before the album came out, like I think the writers credits came out first, and then you
Hmm.
could see like all of these artists who previously made like house music in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and then you can see, these are going to be sampled pieces. There's like 24 writers on this song. How is that possible? And um, yeah, I was interested to see what she did with those. Some of them became like beats. She used vocals from some.
Hmm.
Um, some of them, yeah, like there are direct verses that are from some of them. Um, I thought that was cool. I think it might have worked better in some songs than others. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, no, she definitely took a lot of inspiration and she made it clear where she was drawing that inspiration by who she sampled from.
Hmm. And of course, were you familiar with the whole Khalees thing when Khalees was upset how she sampled part of her song for Energy?
I was, and I actually just got an update on this. So she
Yes.
removed that sample from the song.
Hmm. Which is very interesting. Like, I kind of saw Khalees's point saying, like, she should have asked, but I guess, like, in the production credits, like, Khalees performed the song, but I don't think her name is on the actual, like, rights, or she doesn't have some kind of right to the song, from what I understand. So it's a little bit of a gray area, but that's what I mean sometimes with samples. They can get very hazy.
Yeah, especially in this case, and I'm sure in a lot of other cases, like there was such a small portion of the sample used that I think it must have been debated before if it was even worth it. Of course, an artist needs to be given their credit and everything, so credit was due. But obviously, if the artist is not comfortable with that, so I think that was good on Beyonce and removing it for that particular
Hmm.
song.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some of these tracks because there's a lot with a lot of these. I think like we can kind of start at the beginning with like I'm That Girl. That one does sample another song. I don't remember like exactly what it was, but when I think I first started listening to this album, like I said, it reminded me a lot of the Beyonce album because it kind of presents that dark kind of emerging out of the darkness element,
Yeah,
but it's also very like comforting in a weird way because then you get into like cozy, which is fun and upbeat. Um, and then like Alien Superstar, which is like I said it sounds like The Weekend, if anything. It's kind of like that retro pop like vibe. So it's like just in those three songs alone, she covers a lot of ground.
she does, and it feels like you've been listening for like half an hour. That's not meant in a bad way. It feels like you've been listening for like half an hour once you get to the end of Alien Superstar, just because of how many like different sounds and everything that takes you through. I think like I'm That Girl changes tempo a bunch of times.
Hmm.
Saying I'm that girl. That's what we're all thinking. It's Beyonce. Very sonically experimental. Um, and then into Cozy, it's very much more of like an Afro beat, and then into Alien Superstar, which I've seen a lot of people say is like their favorite song on the album, is like
Hmm.
is up for the next single, is what people are debating now.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like that one I feel is a lot more like radio friendly, that and Cozy. And yeah, Alien Superstar reminded me very much of like gay clubs. Like if you if you watch Pose or RuPaul, the music that's used
Yeah.
from that culture, like that's very much what that reminds me of.
I kind of got that vibe too, and it's funny because she actually dedicated the album, and he's mentioned in one of the songs for Uncle Johnny, who struggled with
Yeah.
HIV. I believe he passed away from AIDS, and he struggled with HIV. Um, so that's interesting. Like, I think she is exploring that wheelhouse of like very dubstep, like EDM clubby, but it's not to that like same extent if you were to go to the club and it's like constant go 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 EDM. It's still like you said, it has like those mixes of Afrobeat and like a little bit of like other things. Like it's almost like industrial, I guess you could say. Like um a lot of the sounds. I don't know if that made any sense, but
No, it does. I mean, well, it's like a project, as opposed to like a DJ mix. Like she's created a project that obviously it has different moments and everything, but it feels so cohesive that you can easily blend one vibe into the next one, which I think is what very much makes this dramatic change of pace work.
Mm-hmm. Even like when I listen to the end of the album, like Summer Renaissance is the last one that also samples like Donna Summer's song I Feel Love. That like when that ended, I was like, it sounds like the album could literally start again, or we could like pick it up somewhere. I felt like it could pick up at like Break My Soul, which was the first single released off of Renaissance. So I mean, like there is that constant flow of energy throughout the album, which is something like I said from a production standpoint is very, very well done.
Absolutely. Yeah, Summer Renaissance too, just very it feels to me like a finale, but like you said, like it can still continue to blend if she chose to. Like, yeah, Soul Reprise would be great after that.
Yeah, because she's supposed to. I guess this is like act one, so I guess she wants to do like three or two more and make it a trilogy. That's like I don't even. She said like I read about it. She must have these like recorded over the past year or two. So it's like where do we go from here? Like that's just so much already that we've been given.
And I'm like, did she come up with 3 albums worth of material of like similar? Or I wonder if she has like 3 individual projects that are distinct from each other. Like that would be interesting too. I really
Mm-hmm.
feel like in terms of the next albums, you don't know where she's gonna go from here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, another song too, like that kind of reminds me of what we've been talking about, and I have it written here. Cuff It, which is right after Alien Superstar.
Yeah.
Like that one was very, very disco. It actually kind of reminded me of Lizzo's album that came out recently, like very similar energy and like almost like I'm playing the chorus in my head, almost like the same. And she kind of is an artist that sticks to very similar singing patterns.
Mhm.
The way she sings like Cuff It kind of reminds me of like the Four album, like very aggressive, very forward, and just very like in your face.
Yes, like very kind of like upper to mid range, lots of runs, lots of like I feel like it's classic. Like I feel like when people say they want like pop Beyonce, it's like sort of in that realm. I also wrote down about damn time, like it reminded me of Lizzo.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that was my I think when I listened to the album at first, I had only played like the first 6 songs because it was midnight and then I did the next half the next day. And Cuff It was the first one that really kind of had me like, wow, like yeah. I mean, the ones before that caught up to me later, but Cuff It caught my attention immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's definitely very in your face. Like I said, that one and like when I first listened to this song, I was kind of like, this is a lot. But like Church Girl,
Oh yeah.
like I don't even know like how to describe that song. There's just so many things happening there. Like
Yeah, I think that one is definitely my most played since the album came out. It takes a lot of turns because the beginning sounds like very kind of unique. Once it gets to the chorus, you start feeling a little bit more like Megan the Stallion. Like that's the vibe I got. Yeah, yeah, Megan Thee Stallion. That was the first artist I
yeah.
thought of when I heard that chorus. But before that, like it was all Beyonce. Like it sounded completely new.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like we kind of mentioned a little bit, and there's another song that I want to mention after, like
Mhm.
her lyricism too. Like she always sticks to these themes about like empowerment and confidence and female empowerment specifically. Like so that's something I think we do still get on this album, but it is more so like she is creating this space where people just want to come and like have fun and enjoy themselves.
Mhm.
Um, and one track that I think was very like introspective, I'd have to look again at the lyrics, was Heated, which comes a little bit later.
Yeah.
I would say, what do you have on that one? Because I don't remember exactly like what it was about.
Okay. So Heated. I initially had only listened to it like once all the way through before like yesterday, and I once I listened to it again, I was able to pick up like 3 different meanings for what Heated might have meant.
Mm,
So like there were like she's saying like I got to cool it down. I was wondering if she was talking about like um she's saying like I look heated, like I'm hot, I got bands, I'm dressed to the tens. She says this, I got to cool down. But then
mhm,
she also like talks about giving your partner space and time. Like I
Mm.
got to cool it down. And um I don't know where the other one's written, but yeah, like I was just like, this is a double entendre all the way through, and like it makes me wonder if she made it so that you can imagine the interpretation, or I because I've seen that on a couple different songs as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously, sex is always a big thing that
Hmm.
she incorporates too. One of the songs too that, you know, emulates that perfectly is Plastic Off the Sofa. Like,
Yeah.
it's just very, and it also was a point in the album. It comes like after Energy, which was the Khalees sample that she removed. Um, actually a little bit later than that, after Church Girl. And that song, like Plastic on the Sofa, was it's like a lot slower, just a much bigger dip in the energy. So I mean, when you think about it, if people are listening to this album straight through, like we can't go hard all the time, Beyonce. Like we all don't have that stamina. We might need some breaks to
Ah,
catch our breath like once in a while.
no, absolutely. And like you said, that is probably the one dip where we start to get into more like relaxed territory.
Hmm.
And I think maybe it's trying to show she's being a little bit more vulnerable, and with the themes of this song and her partner. And yeah, that was a beautiful song. I loved her vocals in that song. I thought that was awesome. She said like, say you won't change the little things that make you you. And in this one where she's talking to her partner, she's just kind of expressing gratitude. And like you said, it has a sexual theme behind it as well. And yeah, it's like a breather, especially right after Break My Soul and Church Girl. Yeah, it's just to change of pace.
Yeah. What did you think of Break My Soul, by the way, when that first came out? Because I think she worked with The Dream on that
Hmm.
track, and she's worked with The Dream a lot in the past. I looked up his credentials, and they've done a lot of work in the past. But I feel like that song was, even like we said with the whole album, it was so different than what she normally does. Like it was still like Beyonce, but it wasn't like what we're typically used to with Beyonce.
Yeah, Break My Soul. Immediately when she put that out, I was like, I was captivated. I think it became like my top 30 most played of all time, only counting the single, and it was released like last month. Yeah, but I thought it was a great choice for the lead single. I think it definitely encapsulates the vibe of the album, and but obviously radio friendly and everything. I
Mhm.
think this one kind of differentiated from the others too in terms of its theme, because it is empowerment, but it's kind of acknowledges something negative and turns it into something positive. I
Mhm.
think personally for me, just like job wise, it came at a very good time in my life. I took the lyrics quite literally. um yeah, no, I thought that was a perfect choice for the lead single.
Yeah. And we mentioned this too, like you said, what other songs could you see being like singles? Because to me, I felt like it was hard to pick them out because the way I see this album is it's still very like it's definitely her most experimental yet, and it's not all very radio friendly. So it's kind of hard to pick out tracks that could stand alone, like Break My Soul. But you said you had a couple that you thought could be a next single.
Yes. We talked about the I Feel Love inspired Summer Renaissance. I think that one would be a big radio hit. We've heard that song sampled before. I think the way that Beyonce's done it though has just added so much to it.
Hmm.
And I think when the album came out, Summer Renaissance was at the top of Spotify's today's top hits. So like they were already anticipating that was going to be the next one, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I also think Cuff It would be really good.
Hmm.
Just given the climate of today's music, I think it fits in very well. Um, Alien Superstar by popularity, maybe. However, I would say that's a little bit more experimental than the other ones.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and then if she's feeling a little risky, maybe Church Girl. I think that one's doing really well as well.
Yeah, it's funny because like this is definitely an album that strikes me as like there's gonna be a lot of fan favorites. Like it's gonna be a lot of songs that the fans really, really like. And I think she's an artist that I
Mhm.
think, kind of similar to someone like a Taylor Swift who would let the fans kind of choose the next single. Um, So I could see that being. I honestly thought like Virgo's Groove was like the next best track in my eyes, like to break my soul. Like that one, like I think it was one of the more cohesive ones in terms of like the energy and how it all kind of came together. And I think it was a little bit more like radio friendly. Like I could picture like even going to the club and hearing that kind of song.
I could see that played in like I feel like at the club and like not meant to diminish the song in any way, but a background to like anything. Like it's very much remind I was thinking about it. I was like, I could be jamming to this, I could be dancing with this at the club, or I could be cleaning my room and listening to this. I could be out by the pool listening to this. Like, yeah. No, it was very good. My sister's a Virgo. She was very excited when I played that for her.
Right, yeah. My roommate too, she's a Virgo, and she was like, "Yeah, Beyonce did that for me." And I was like, "Well, Beyonce's also a Virgo, so sure, let's go with that." Like,
Yeah. She's acknowledging her peers.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I like too that you were saying like with that song, you can kind of do anything to it. That's how I judge a good like album or track. It's like if you can just do anything like laundry, dancing, like driving, like if you can switch it between a bunch of different activities, then it's a good song. Like it's an
Oh
everything
yeah.
song.
Oh yeah, just a side note, like Harry Styles' album Harry's House. I play that doing anything. But yeah, that's it just you can play it anywhere, then you've made something that's going to really fit into somebody's life.
Mm-hmm. Another song that I really, really like that I want to bring up because I listened to it again earlier today was Thick. It was
Oh
just,
yeah.
I feel like you would like that one too. There was just, it also kind of gives off a little bit of like Megan vibes, I guess you could say, but like,
Yeah.
but in a completely different way. Like Beyonce just kind of like made that one her own. Like, I think honestly, if I were to say the most Beyonce song on this, it's probably Thick.
Yeah, I mean, well, she's very much actually, I wrote the same thing. Like when it first came on, I thought of Cash Ish, Megan Thee Stallion. Um, and yeah, like this is very kind of classic Beyonce to talk about appreciation for a nice behind or curves or just being in touch with your body. And, with the lyrics, she's talking about, Thick could not only be talking about her body, but, her standards, her ego, her wallet. Yeah, thick,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thick in many ways, and thick spelled with a QE, mind you, not like, CK.
Yeah,
It's very, very
or not
different.
not even CC. We have a new one. Yeah,
Exactly. She invented a whole new thick, you could say.
I know. Mine.
Well, I'm curious, do you think there is a song on here that like is I don't want to I mean like we're gonna all go there, but do you think there is a song that is like the weakest link?
Ooh, I don't know. I think I definitely had a few that didn't catch my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Eventually, like these things do grow on me. I think the one that did not catch my attention first was actually Heated.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, I went over it and find myself playing everything else first. I think that one took a little bit for me to get into. Um, yeah, obviously everyone's gonna have their different ones, but yeah, that was kind of the one for me. I don't know if it'll stand as my weakest link later. Obviously, it's I think it's a very cohesive piece. I don't really think there's a big weak link, but yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think like for me, I didn't love like Move and I didn't love like Energy when it kind of like changed, I think like midway through. I wasn't like in love with it. I think that's just a personal preference. Because sometimes when you get in that wheelhouse of just really weird experimental sounds, like we've kind of touched upon, it can be a little bit off-putting, especially like with this album, like we've said, all of the songs kind of change drastically, like just over the course of like 3 minutes. So it's like, okay, 1 minute you're listening to one thing and then you're listening to something else. So for some people, that's like great, they like this. And for other people, it's like, whoa, what the hell happened? So I feel like
yeah,
people are, and I haven't looked at a ton of reviews, but I think people in general feel very split on this album. I don't know if you feel like you've gotten the same reaction, but obviously the people that like love Beyonce are like, it's Beyonce. You can't go wrong.
yeah. I think people definitely favor different songs, and everyone picks their top three and everything. And um, yeah, I kind of felt the same way about Energy when I first heard it. Actually, the
Mhm.
verse was very kind of still in the flow that we were in. And then when Bean came in to do uh, the chorus, it was a big change of pace. Um, I think it made more sense as it started to go into Break My Soul, but it was a very quick change of pace, and that kind of threw me off guard for a little bit. I
Hmm.
think when you're not used to it, it feels like a whole switch of vibe that
Hmm.
sometimes you're just not ready for. I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. I think the way it bled into Break My Soul was like perfect. Like that was really, really good. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I do think like this isn't her greatest album she's ever done. I do think like she has better works out there, but it's still a very like solid representation of Beyonce and what she's capable of. And obviously, she has the resources and she has the team to back her. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what she does next with this trilogy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait to see, if she's gonna continue to dance. If she does something else, I will be very surprised, but I will be ready for the ride. Um, I'm sure after she puts out that third one, we won't hear from her for 25 years. It's okay.
Right.
We'll have what we have.
Exactly. It seems like we have enough material coming that she's got in the wheelhouse. So I think we'll be fine. Maybe if she spreads it out a little bit, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm curious of that too. Like if she's gonna get a little bit, if she's gonna put them out a little sooner than we expect, or if she's gonna take her time and give us time to digest. And yeah, I'm very curious, but I'm ready for what's next.
We're ready. Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming on. I've had you on so many times. Like I said, you're basically like a professional at this. So I always love having you coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you having me. I love talking about these things. I love talking about music. I know that it's a common love of ours, and yeah, I enjoy it so much.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Everybody, Act One will say Renaissance by Beyonce is out. So give it a listen and let us know what you think.